This video is about Fantastic Adventures, a fantasy and science fiction pulp magazine published by Ziff-Davis. To show what Fantastic Adventures was all about, after this initial image, a chronological series of painted covers from 1939 to 1953 are presented. As the covers go by, lots of fascinating information is provided, but is not intended to correspond with the specific cover being shown. Although science fiction had been published before the 1920s, it did not begin to become a separately marketed genre until the appearance in 1926 of Amazing Stories, a pulp magazine published by Hugo Gernsback. By the end of the 1930s, the field was undergoing its first boom. Gernsback lost control of Amazing Stories in 1929. It was sold to Tech Publications, and then in 1938 it was acquired by Ziff-Davis. In 1939, Ziff-Davis launched the first issue of Fantastic Adventures, dated May 1939, as a companion to Amazing Stories. It was initially edited by Raymond A. Palmer, who was also the editor of Amazing Stories, Ziff-Davis's other science fiction title. It started as a bi-monthly, but in January 1940 began a monthly schedule. The first 9 issues were in bedsheet format, the same size as the early science fiction magazines, such as Amazing Stories, but in June 1940, the magazine switched to a standard pulp size, which was cheaper to produce, and the schedule reverted to bi-monthly. Sales did not improve, and Ziff-Davis planned to make the October issue the last one. But the October 1940 issue enjoyed unexpectedly good sales, twice of those in August, helped by a strong cover by J. Allen St. John for Robert Moore Williams' Jongor of Lost Land. This convinced Ziff-Davis that the magazine was viable, and it was restarted in January 1941 as a bi-monthly at first and switched to monthly again in May of that year. Palmer's goal for Fantastic Adventures was to create a magazine that published fantasy fiction but was the literary equal of the quality magazine The Slicks, such as the Saturday Evening Post. Although mixing science fiction with fantasy was not popular with science fiction fans of the era, Palmer consciously promoted the magazine as containing the best of both worlds. Fantastic Adventures competition included Unknown, which had been launched just a couple of months earlier in March 1939, and Weird Tales, which was first published in 1923. Instead of attempting to copy either one, Fantastic Adventures focused on adventure stories in the style of Edgar Rice Burroughs. A series of 4 Edgar Rice Burroughs novelettes in his Carson of Venus series between March 1941 and March 1942, each with cover art by J. Allen St. John, resulted in a significant boost to Fantastic Adventures circulation. A majority of the stories in Fantastic Adventures came from a small group of writers who often wrote under house names. The main members of the group were William P. McGivern, David Wright O'Brien, Don Wilcox, Chester S. Geyer, Rog Phillips, Leroy Wyerka, Robert Moore Williams, Robert Bloch, and Berkeley Livingston. Palmer was often able to get stories from outside this group, including August Derleth, Ray Bradbury, who sold one story, Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which appeared in 1947, and Nelson S. Bond. Historians of science fiction consider that Palmer was unable to maintain a consistently high standard of fiction, but Fantastic Adventures soon developed a reputation for lighthearted and whimsical stories. The cover art, like that of many other similar magazines of the era, focused on beautiful women in melodramatic action scenes. One regular cover artist was H. W. Macaulay, whose glamorous Mac Girl covers were popular with the readers, though the emphasis on depictions of attractive and often partly clothed women did draw some objections. In 1949, Palmer left Ziff-Davis and was replaced by Howard Brown, who took over as editor of both Amazing Stories and Fantastic Adventures, and was knowledgeable and enthusiastic about fantasy fiction. With Brown, the quality of the fiction promptly improved, and the first year or two of Brown's tenure are regarded as the high point of Fantastic Adventures' run. Theodore Sturgeon's novel The Dreaming Jewels appeared in 1950, and Lester Del Rey, William Tenn, and Walter M. Miller all published notable material. In April 1950, Mack Reynolds' first story, Isolationist, appeared in Fantastic Adventures. The story describes helpful alien visitors abandoning Earth to atomic war because of the hostility of the first Earthman they encounter. Opinions of story quality are mixed, and the artwork was generally of higher quality than the stories. Regular artists included Virgil Finlay, Henry Sharp, Rod Ruth, and Malcolm Smith. In Palmer's words, "It has been our experience that covers sell magazines simply because they attract attention." Brown preferred fantasy to science fiction and enjoyed editing Fantastic Adventures. But when his plans for taking Amazing Stories upmarket were derailed by the Korean War, he lost interest in both magazines for a while. He let William Hamling take responsibility for both titles, and the quality declined. At the end of 1950, Ziff-Davis moved its offices from Chicago to New York. Brown relocated to New York, but Hamling decided to stay in Chicago. So Brown became more involved once again, and there are science fiction historians such as Brian Stableford and Mike Ashley that considered the result to have been a definite improvement in quality. The period around 1951 has been described as the magazine's heyday. Brown's interest in fantasy led him to start a new digest magazine, Fantastic, in the summer of 1952. It was an immediate success and led Ziff-Davis to convert Amazing Stories to digest form as well. The move from the pulp format to digests was well underway in the early 1950s, and with Fantastic's success, there was little reason to keep Fantastic Adventures going. It was merged with Fantastic. The last issue was dated March 1953. Would you like to see a movie based on any of the covers in this video? If so, is there an actress or actresses that you want involved? More videos like this one, short and longer, can be viewed at the Comic Excitement Convention Science Fiction playlist. Please like, comment, subscribe, and click the notifications bell.